Here I am back in Insight, and my weeks of pregnancy and waist increase data is here. Now what I can do is add to plot the trend line, add curves, trend curves, and a blue line is just fine. We see that the line goes through most of the points. It goes right through the middle of this data, which is showing a linear positive increase. As weeks increase, so too does the waist sizes of these women. And we have some points below and some above the trend line, or the trend line going through the middle, which is showing that this particular line is a good model for the situation. However, when we come to this early part of the graph here, or this lower region, we see that there's a whole run of points that are sitting underneath the curve line, not at all as random as the others, and we can almost flick that round to make a curve, and so it's not quite as linear through there. And we also notice that on this end here we've got a whole run of points that's above the line. So what's easier in statistics is actually to look at particular zones of the data or the situation and form separate little linear equations or models within each zone. So if we just look at these points here, they seem to form a nice little run of straight lines, or they've got their own pattern here. And even though the trend is less rapid than this one, or the slope is less rapid, we've got a separate situation here that could be modelled by a line just going nicely through these points here. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate the data by breaking it up to under 12 and over 12 weeks of pregnancy. So we're going to break it up here, and in manipulate variables here we're going to create a new variable. No, we're not. We're going to form class intervals, and so within the variable weeks we're going to form two intervals, so we'll just leave that there, and the range will be at a specified interval proceed, and the breakpoint here is 12. So the first interval will be 4 to 12, and the next interval will be 12 to 41.29 weeks, which is the top end of our data. So if we just submit that, and it tells us that our new variable will be the last column of our data set here. And there it is. So we've got between 4 and 12, and at greater than 12, which is this point here, 13.29, we have the 12 to 41.3 week data. And there's our 41.29 week. So what we do now is, with our plot variables here, we drag this break variable into what we sort by, and we've got two separate graphs here, each of them with its own separate regression line. If I get the summary for these plots, I've got two separate summaries. I've got my 4 to 12 weeks here with this particular equation, and my 12 to 41 weeks here. So I can see here that I've got a slope of 0.34 of weeks of pregnancy, plus or minus 1 centimetre. So that's minuscule, it's almost crossing at 0, which we would expect. And that correlation coefficient there is 0.94, which is pretty high, and we know that it's a good model because we can see that the points were linear, and that this particular model, or this particular regression line here with this particular equation, the y equals mx plus c equation here, suitably fits it. So we could use this equation to model points around that zone. And up here we've got our other equation, which is very similar to the overall big line that we've looked at a couple of times. So y equals 1.06 of x, of weeks of pregnancy, minus 6.15. If I just put that summary box out the way, I'm going to save this data now, and we're going to drill down and put it somewhere where I think I'm going to find it in my user files. Bear with me here, I'll just put it in my statistics folder. and I'm going to give it a name here, so we'll call it 12-week break graphs, and I'll underscore it too. That's a good name. And the file extension for it, I'm actually just going to save it as a picture file, so a PNG or a JPEG will do, either of those, and hit OK. So when I come over here to a Word document, I can insert my picture, and so long as I can find it, I have now pasted it into Word. So I can also grab or have copied down those equations and start to use that in my report.